Hey guys, welcome to Living It Up. I'm Sagar Sheldekar and I'm finally here to give you a verdict on my long-termer, the BS6 Royal Enfield Himalayan. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting to hear from me on how this machine has done, and I'm happy to report that I haven't really encountered any big problems that we are worried about. Like to quote you guys, the chassis is still intact. I have not had any problems with the cone set. Everything is where it should be, in place. But as is the mantra of living it up, we try to get the most out of every single motorcycle. The first thing we attacked with the Himalayan was its Achilles heel, which is braking. For that, we swapped to EBC brake pads from Motousher, something which I've used for many years now on my RC390, and I've been very happy with the stopping power they bring to a table. They have a ferocious bite. But surprisingly, even after installing the EBC brake pads, the stopping power was not what I was expecting on the Himalayan, right? And then we realized that it was mainly down to the tires, because the C8 tires don't offer as much traction as you need to really put all that stopping power down, which is why then we swapped to the Apollo ActiGrip 6 tires, which has a slightly wider block pattern, which means you have better contact patch, which allows you to put all that stopping power down much more efficiently. And that's why I'm happy to report, after riding this for a good 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers with this setup, that the braking has definitely improved. We have definitely made a step up. And even in emergency situations now, the Himalayan brakes a whole lot better. But yes, the block pattern, which helps it perform really well on the road, kind of work against it here when it comes to off-road riding, because the blocks are a little bit wider, there's a little more slippage. But then we got around that problem by just dropping the air pressure by about 4 to 5 psi. We again got back the grip that we were looking for. The rear then started coming around much more progressively, and yeah, I would say it's a very good compromise, because you then have really good performance on the road and even off-road. Even though C8s are slightly better, even these, after dropping the tire pressures, work very well. Then the next part obviously was improving the refinement. We went back to a tried and tested Castrol Power and Cruise, something which we have tried on the Triumph Scrambler 1200XC, and we came back super impressed. The engine was definitely a lot more quiet. There was definitely improvement in terms of the gear changes, both up and down. And yeah, also in terms of heat dissipation, I thought we had it in much better an area, even when you're riding in the peak of traffic or riding really hard here off-road. We also tried quite a few other upgrades in terms of the handlebar. This is like a more rigid and lighter handlebar from Royal Enfield. I quite like it. It's definitely stronger. It helps you maneuver a bike a little bit better when you're standing up and riding. And I also love the way it looks. Second was the touring seat. Now Royal Enfield have come up with this special touring seats, which are supposed to help you stay in the saddle for a lot longer time. For the first 250 kilometers, I thought both the pillion as well as the rider seats were very comfortable. But thereafter, I really was hoping for slightly more padding, because my butt started hurting and I had to pull over after 250 odd kilometers. So the long distance touring part with these seats, I'm not really as convinced. Then we had better crash protection for the engine, which is supposed to be a lot more sturdy. Thankfully, we never had to put it to use, so I can't really comment on how well it does in case of a crash, because we never had any. But yeah, I like the fact that I like the coverage that it provides. Coming back to the most obvious things, which are the panniers, really give the Himalayan a very adventurous look. These are aluminium panniers. They are 26 liters each. I really like the fit and finish of it. They're very, very sturdy. The way you can mount them and the way you can take them off is very, very easy. Inside, if you look at luggage area, there's plenty of space. You can store more than enough things inside between these two panniers that you would require for a long tour. And each would accommodate about 5 kgs of actual weight, which is not bad at all. The one thing I would say is you have these additional hooks up top on the panniers, which allows you to mount even more luggage on top of them. Royal Enfield could have done with a slightly more safer design to take off all of these really sharp edges which can go into your leg and really hurt you. But yeah, there are a few things which it can definitely do better, which I mentioned. The gearbox can definitely be a lot more smoother, especially going from first to second. And also, I really hate how difficult it is for you to adjust the preload on the rear shock. You almost cannot do it without removing the linkage, which is not the most ideal, especially if you want to just mount more luggage or if you're having a pillion along for your ride. After some really long rides, I felt the valve clearances were not up to spec and had to be looked into because the engine was a lot louder in the higher revs, which should not really be the case about 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers that we have ridden on this bike. So for me, that's too short an interval for the valve clearances to go out of spec. Other than that, really not much to complain about. And I know 3 months is not enough to talk about the full-fledged reliability from an ownership perspective, but at least I'm convinced now that this is definitely a big step ahead of the previous Himalayan, which was plagued with problems, and they've definitely made big steps in terms of the fit and finish of this motorcycle. And I've had an absolute blast working on it, riding it, and very happy with all the things that we tried on it, especially in terms of the braking, which have made it a much better tourer, especially on the road.